Thank you for such a hospitable welcome. Welcome to the Voice Over Today audio podcast. I'm your host, D. Foster III, CEO and President of Wake Up Global Networks International. I want to say welcome to another podcast. You know the spiel at the beginning. Please like, share, follow, subscribe so you know when we upload brand new content. Before we continue honoring the life and legacy of my big brother, Coach James Butch McAdams, and I'll talk more about that. Make sure you go and on this channel, WPBMediaNetworks.com, and view every single Friday beginning at 5 o'clock, the Voice Over Now podcast. I mean, if you're talking about it, we're talking about it. And if you love it, it's Friday. So we say straight, no chaser. We give it to you exactly like it is. And then on Sunday morning, meet me at 7 a.m. right here on WPBMediaNetworks.com. Shout out to owner and operator April Hall. We appreciate her lending us this platform for our voice, but the Voice of Hope Connection every Sunday morning where you can view at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and get a word for the Lord. A word for the week that will carry you through. We are your podcast with an eye on the culture. We discuss here on the Voice Over Today relevant issues, trending topics, and we do thorough investigative journalism. Make sure you subscribe, and I want to say shout out to the replay. You know, for the last couple of weeks, I've been dedicating these shows to the life and legacy of the late, great James Butch McAdams, my big brother who made his transition several weeks ago. And I just thought it would be noteworthy and not robbery to just allow you to hear his greatness and how he was a bridge. I attended Coach's funeral service on this past Saturday, and I mean, the church was filled to capacity. The parking lot, when I drove up, I had to make a space. And that is the kind of person Coach James Butch McAdams is, and Coach was to my life. He was a bridge. He was a connector. If you go on our website, social media, Wake Up Global Networks on Facebook, WGNINC on X, and Wake Up Global Media, I posted some of the program from Saturday, and it's just people came from everywhere to honor my big brother, Coach James Butch McAdams, who will forever live in me. And so today I want to do part two and the finale of dedicating this podcast, this audio podcast, to my big brother, and just to let you hear. And I will always treasure these interviews. Coach would often be a guest on my show, my radio show, or my podcast. And I'm playing some excerpts just to give you an idea of the caliber of man that we are talking about. I want to go into this interview Coach and I did in late 2022 on my podcast, Wake Up Now podcast, and just give you a glimpse as we remember the life and legacy of Coach James Butch McAdams. I'm glad you said that, because I want to segue into this next statement and get your comments. When I read the article that was printed about you in the Washington Informer, you stated that you had initially, upon entering the media field, no experience.
None.
The question is, for me and for our listeners, having said that, how did you become such an expert? Walk us through the steps. I mean, from somebody that, because a lot of great radio personalities, they've gone to school for it. You know, they have broadcasting schools. Mm-hmm. But how did you, so we know why they're great. We know why they excel. But how did you come in to a field that you were totally foreign to, master it, and now rise? And I'll read in just a minute a statement from Dr. Kathy Hughes, which is also profound, and I'll get to that, to such a national level. Coach, we want to hear that story, because there are many of us who have no experience, not gone to school, but we want to excel in this field. So if you could walk us through your process.
Well, I'll start. You had mentioned Kathy Hughes, our founder and CEO, and a great mentor of mine. Miss Hughes told me years ago when I first started, she said, I can teach you radio, but I can't give you passion. And if you have the passion, you'll be all right. And so I love radio. I loved it then, and 30 years later, I still love it. Other than my faith and my family and friends, there's nothing that comes before radio.
Wow.
You know, and I once I once gave two analogies of my passion. When I was coaching basketball, I had passion. And someone said, okay, you got passion. Well, if you had a choice between coaching Shaquille O'Neal or going out on a date with Beyonce, which one would you choose? I didn't hesitate. I said, I want to coach Shaq. They said, what? I said, that's right. I said, you can find a pretty woman at every corner, but it's hard to coach a good big man. And the other analogy would be, you know, if Beyonce, again, as an example, hypothetical, because she's beauty, if she said, okay, let's have a date at 6 o'clock, and I have a show at 6 o'clock, I'm doing the show and say, hey, I'll meet you at 9. But that's passion. That's passion. Not an exaggeration. That's my level of passion. You have to really eat, sleep, and drink it. And once you do that, then you're going to put the work ethic in. And I always say, Bishop and listeners, that do you want the position or do you want the job? Ooh. And what I mean by that is everybody likes the position, the accolades, okay, and all of the good things that go along with a job. For example, in basketball, I would ask my guys, hey, everybody wants the position, but nobody wants the job, meaning that everybody wants to put the pretty uniform on and wants to play in front of their family and friends, get their names in the paper. But how many of y'all want to get up at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning and practice for 2-3 hours? And if you enjoy the job, then the position and all of the accolades that come with it will be easy. And my favorite Nike commercial is no fans, no cameras, no reporters, just the game. And when you just enjoy the game, then the other things will come easy. I love radio. I love it. And when I was coaching basketball, I loved basketball. And then all of the other wonderful things like the articles and, getting awards, those things will come with it. But in order to get those things, you have to just appreciate the job, the work. And one of my favorite sayings, and I adopted this from the great coach John Wooden at UCLA, and he had a pyramid of success. And one of the sayings on the pyramid was, the reward for hard work is hard work.
Listen, folks, that's why we have the godfather of radio on the Wake Up Now podcast, because you're not going to just get this information. I'm telling you, even in school, through experience. I want you to park there because you and I talk often, and you are one of the few that I've given permission to critique my show, my content, the guests, and I feed off of that. One of our things has been, and even those that I am sharing with and helping, you got to put in the work. I go back to my entrance into, say, professional radio when I was by then working with Jeff Majors.
That's
And
right.
I will never forget, Coach, and I say this all the time, I will never forget that upon being hired by Jeff, upon working, he used to call me almost every morning in the beginning and says, what content, what show prep do you have for today? And I have to admit, Coach, because this is the first time I'm in professional radio. I mean, not the first time in radio, but it's the first time in professional radio. And I'm like, why is this guy calling me every morning at the state? And I mean, Coach, it would be like 6 o'clock when Mr. Hughes' prayer go off, the phone lines would ring. There's Jeff. Just checking to see if you got show prep for the day. Checking to see if you got show. And so it's in me, even now with podcasts, that I've got to do my work. I've got to have quality content. I've got to put the research in. I've got to pull up the article. Can you talk about that? Because I'm seeing that, to be honest with you, as a lost art in media. That it's okay. It's kind of like a minister. When you've done this for a while, you can tell when somebody studied and they prepared. Kind of like what you with basketball. You can tell if a player has practiced, and you didn't have to be at the practice. You can tell because that's your skill, right? So you can tell, oh, he ain't practiced. Look at that sloppiness. Then you can tell a player, oh yeah, he did show up in practice. Look at his skills. I can tell that in radio and I can tell that in podcasts. They did not put the time in. There's no content. Talk about that if you can, Coach, because I think we got to recapture that in media. Having people to understand is more than posting your picture, is more than having a guest, but it is the quality content that keeps people coming back. Yeah, you're listening to a conversation that Coach James Butch McAdams, my big brother, God bless his soul, may he rest in peace, transition. But this is just simply some of the nuggets that he dropped that I think is noteworthy. If you want to know why I'm so thorough and why I'm so straight, no chaser in my presentation, I got it from one of the greats, one of the giants, Coach James Butch McAdams. I feel like I'm going to continue this because he goes into some nuggets, especially those of you that are listening to this podcast who are interested in media, long-term media, not just a drop in the bucket media, but you want a legacy in media. I think I've got it right here, and I've got several. I'm not going to play all of them, but I've got this particular one was one of the last in-depth interviews Coach gave. He talks about his experience with Dr. Kathy Hughes and how he got to Radio 1, and I think it's worth hearing as we honor the life and legacy of my big brother, the late, great Coach James Butch McAdams, who on last night, there was a final viewing in the Baltimore. I went to Forestville on Saturday to the initial funeral, but then there was a viewing last night, and I can imagine, and certain people call me, that people from everywhere came because this is one of the greats. I want to say thank you. Please like, please share, subscribe. You can contact me at thevoiceovertheglobe@gmail.com, thevoiceovertheglobe@gmail.com. Follow us on our social media, Wake Up Global Media for our Instagram, WGNINC for our X, Wake Up Global Networks, and make sure you join us Friday or do the replay. Do the replay for Sunday. Do the replay. Until next week, this is your host, D. Foster 3, reminding you, stay woke. You have a voice. Let's use it. Peace.